Hello, and welcome to this second full session of Girl by Moonlight on a Sea of Stars. And last time we set some more things up. We built our NPCs and we did the first of our play phases, which includes doing the downtime kind of beforehand. And we ended last time with the arrival of a bastion on screen, on site, the first time that we've seen a real one in action, and at least for this season. And I think maybe last season they were maybe a little more coherent, but I think the graphic designers for this season have really gone wild with the idea of these leviathans, being colonies that have been transformed. And we'll come back to what that looks like and what that means here in just a second. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is part of Open Hearth Gaming, which is an online gaming community. We have a free online gaming weekend that is coming up November 10th through 12th. Signups for that open next Tuesday, the 24th at noon Eastern. There is a link for that in our show notes, so you can check that out. We'd love to have people come and try out playing with our community. We have 24 games right now on the calendar, plus a couple of seminars that I'll be doing on world building and hacking Hearts of Wulin. So those are a couple of things that are out there. We have a layered set of safety tools. Players are aware of those. We've got those out there. And we are going to get rolling as soon as I bring the roller up here. Oh, that was the wrong button. I'm already in Zoom. I do not need to open the Zoom meeting. Here we go. So last time, on board the flagship, the Bellerophon, you received the call. The Bellerophon is in orbit around the planet that the last bastion is currently residing on. As I remind you, the last bastion moves by warping around from place to place. This is where it is, and the Leviathans have found you. And we will have seen like a little dot on a screen, and then it been enhance, until we finally see it. And if it's late 90s anime, it's sort of pixelated for a bit. But what you have seen is that there is an enormous wheel, a circle of hands, giant hands of all different shapes. There is a lattice work, a web of energy and maybe actual physical lines running from that wheel to this thing in the center, this necrotic Leviathan shape that is an enormous sphere covered with cathedral-like objects, turned and twisted, and immediately Manon realizes that this is Ursus 9, the Ursus 9 cathedral that she was raised in. And so that is where we are taking up with our characters doing that. What do you think? Let me get our order of information here. Sia, what do you think, like, the on-screen part of the montage procedure is for, like, when a mission happens? Like, is you have to get in special suits? Do we see you jumping into tubes? Like, what do we see there? What's the first part of that, Sia?
I mean, it's hard to beat a good set of tubes.
So rush down, each of you get into those tubes. Is it pneumatic? Is there a liquid that fills it? What do you think? Something else?
Um, I think it's like a rocket lift thing. Like it's
Okay.
an elevator platform, but it's like there's fire. It's going real fast, sort of
Oh,
stuff.
okay. Sure can. A little bit like Battle of the Planets, like launchers down to thing. Okay.
Hmm.
And uh, Zavi, when that comes to a sudden stop and put you out, are you like in a fixture, or do you jump out and run to your vessel, or do you have to run into something else, or what's the next sort of step in our dun 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 dun, dun getting into our ships?
Um, it dumps us out of this sort of like alcove off of the hangar where we gotta, grab supplies and then run to the ship.
Okay.
And
Grabbing the pieces, you see you
yeah.
getting them set. What's different about the way that Zavi like gets, bandoliered or set up versus the other pilots?
Um, Aside from being a little slower, because it just doesn't have as much practice at this, um, I think everyone else has some little like lucky charm or like symbol, even if it's just like marks for, however many kills they've made, some sort of decoration that isn't uniform. Zavi doesn't.
Absolutely. Octavius, we kind of saw you last time, some of you going and getting, we saw you in the cockpits, but what is the actual, like, from here on the catwalks to getting into the cockpits? What is that like? Is it differ from engine to engine, or is there a device that's used to put you in there, or what?
Oh, I like a little uniqueness for each one. I think each mech or each engine has its own sort of opening. So you go and you stand in a place, and like for mine, I think there's almost like this extruding silver metal that comes down, encapsulates me, and just slurps me back in.
You are drawn up into there. I think we see, in turn, each of those. I'm going to come back to you, Manon, in a second. But first, Radiant. This is going to be like you appear like so what do we see? What does the audience see? What do the other characters see when Radiant shows up?
So I think we see these scenes of like frantic activity around each of the engines, sort of like pit stop engineers, like it's a fighter plane sort of mechanic scene, where each of them is there's this like flurry of activity as the pilots are getting there and getting into the engines and they're taking off, and there is that same activity around Lyra, but where we have the scenes of the other three just like launching off in whatever way. There's just this sort of like gets the end of the preparations and everybody's just sort of looking around, and Sia is there as part of the team to like keep Lyra ready for in case Radiant shows up, because they still don't know quite how to rely on him. And there's this like, okay, everybody's been tense but quiet for about 5 minutes, so they start to break, and a couple people go over to get coffee or something, and Sia just like fades back in the shadows. There's this moment of people talking around the water cooler thing, and then there's just this like explosion of light up near. There's like the central globe of Lyra, and there's this like blue glowing humanoid figure in the air that's the is shining, and then the globe behind him is shining, and then the whole thing, like Sia, Lyra, all of it, Radiant, just disappears.
Perfect. And you all gather yourselves together. You know the mission. The mission is to stop the Leviathan, and everyone is settled in. Tell me, Manon, what does the countdown look like, and what does the launch look like? You're muted.
think there's that moment where I'm not sure if all of the pilots see it or if they have some other countdown, but for the most part, it's the interior of the ships, the doors actually sort of become a panel and they're doing the countdown. It's a weird thing because it's physical. Like it's almost like the LED card flips. That's done on purpose so that any of the Leviathans that can read electrical, like energy patterns, can't tell where the countdown is, if that
Okay.
makes any sense. Those first seconds are super critical because we have to get clear of this before they come in. And of course, the big ship is a danger to the Leviathans in some way, but it's a delicate thing. We know that them attacking while the doors are opening has been the destruction of many of these ships. So
And that can't hound hit 0. What do we see on screen? Is it just a whoosh, we see you outside flying, or is it the tunnel of light that we see in Battlestar Galactica, or is it something else?
I think it is a sort of weird second of just dropping. And then the engines go and you fly out.
So
it's
that sort of drop, free fall, and then taking off. And I like the idea that we see all 4 of you hitting that and then hitting your burners simultaneously and shooting off towards this. So this is a mission. And like missions in other Forts in the Dark games, there's procedure. We're going to be going through that. There's a number of procedures, including sort of the fallout phase and kind of rolling around, that we're going to be going through a little slowly just to make sure we get things close to right. So no one did any investigation last time. So our investigation tier is 0, which means that right now the tier of the mission is a tier 1. So we go to the engagement roll. The mission always starts with the engagement roll with you having 1 die. And then we're going to walk through and ask you if any of these things apply. Do you think that the mission is particularly heroic or noble? Like, is there something that makes this different from your usual mission against the Leviathans? Anything?
Yes, it is my past home. It is me saying goodbye to my family and my people.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. I'll give you an extra die for that. So we're at 2 dice. Is the mission following through the details of protagonist investigation? We didn't have an investigation, so you can't get a die for that. But at the same time, I don't think you're acting rashly here. I don't want to penalize you for that given this first round, so I won't take away a die. Does this mission determine the fate of a friend? I don't think we have anybody trapped unless you want to establish something, man. And do you want to flash back to something?
Interesting. How about if there's a promise that if this happens, that I would make sure that what was left of them was destroyed, something like that? Or does it have to be someone alive?
So let's say that there is a trainer or a mentor or someone like that that was left behind and has been assimilated by the Leviathan, sort of in cathedraled, as it were. Does that sound fair? Okay. So right now that's we're at 2 dice. That gives you another die, so 3. However, the missions tier, because we have an investigation tier of 0 and a mission tier of 1, we do drop a die. So we are at 2 dice for the engagement roll. So we're going to go with that. And I don't know if we have anyone established as team leader, do we?
I have to think that Manon would probably be considered our leader, since I don't see me being our leader as a role. Zavi certainly is not our leader, and Radiant is a strange thing. I have to think it's Manon, but I'm
Okay.
curious, Sherry, do you think you've always been our leader, or are you taking over since we've lost some? We know we've lost someone.
Right. I do think that the other person was our leader, or was our leader. Yes. And though I don't know how much of a leader, like if they're sorely missed, I don't know. I have no sense
We
of
may
that.
find that out in play during the stress
Exactly.
phase. Okay.
So,
So in that case, Manon, who do you want to have roll the engagement role for this first one?
I think I loathe this because I loathe rolling, and you know that that is how it is. But I think that if this is your base, this is your story, you should be the one that rolls the engagement.
Okay.
So I apologize in advance. We all know it's going to be terrible. So, okay. So 2d6.
2d6.
2 and a 3. I called it.
So, all right. So as you launch out, as you hit that, you will see the wheel of hands begin to spin rapidly, and they shoot out in all directions. And as you fly forward, they create this web. The hands and those filaments and those electrical impulses going between it, and they are working to wrap all of you in this essentially hypergeometric Faraday cage to shut all of you down here. So you are in a desperate position here as this thing comes forward. So Manon, let's start with you. What do you want to do?
Okay, so my move is a move for protecting someone else. So it's, and essentially transcendent is something that happens. I don't know how that happens, if that makes any sense.
Okay, let's
Um,
walk through the transcendence thing. At any
Okay.
point, you may declare that your character is going into transcendence. And when you do, you get access to your transcendence move and any of the extra stats. However, every roll that you make, you will tick onto that transcendence. Where is that at here?
There's a
That 4
path.
tick transcendence box.
Mhm.
Okay. When that is filled or emptied, however way you decide to mark it, then you will fall out of transcendence. Patrick, am I summarizing that correctly?
Yes, the one extra bit is our engines. If you are taking an action that follows the engines, and I can't remember the word, bad thing, vice.
Their vice.
Yeah, their second descriptor, then that action doesn't tick off your transcendence. So if you're sticking in line with your engine, then you can stay in transcendence longer.
My imperious transcendence? Or
Yes,
transcendent? Okay, so let us say that.
mine's hungry, I think.
Oh,
But yeah, and
okay.
I think the other thing to make clear is it's just action rolls. So if you're like rolling a resistance or something, that doesn't count down your transcendence.
Right.
So basically, you have 4 active actions.
Okay.
And while we're in our mechs, we can still fight Leviathan and stuff and things. If we're not transcendent, we're at a weaker position or something. There's something bad if we're not transcendent, but fighting big aliens.
Okay.
Let me quickly check that. real quick, just so we get that. You get transcendent special abilities, your use of your armor, transcendent action ratings, and increased effect level against supernatural opposition.
That's it.
Action rolls. And let me look quickly at the rules for the thing. So my copy of Girl by Moonlight has shipped, but it won't be here till Monday. So that is why you see me flipping through pages here as we get this.
This is what I was thinking of. I think notably, while not transcended, the characters do not have the necessary effect level to match supernatural threats in the world. The director will evaluate position and effect accordingly in those circumstances. Expect to be at desperate or limited at best when facing supernatural forces in your mundane form.
And this is the question that I actually had. Is there any other cost to invoking an engine's vice? I know that if you're going with the engine's sort of approach, then you get, or rather not engine's approach, if you get with its virtue,
Impulse,
then you get, it provides bonus die, impulse. When pilots' actions align with their engine's impulse, or they accept a poison promise based on its impulse, they mark XP, and the action does not deplete their transcendence track.
XP
That's that is on the engines and flagships tab there.
And if you go with their virtue, which is their first descriptor, you always get an extra die.
Yeah. So what do we see, Manon? And which mech is yours again?
My mech is Regulus. So it has that look of a wildly ornate and decorated religious object. The symbols both match those of the cathedral, and sort of underneath them another older set that are there. They glow sort of one set and then the other, and one set and the other. The older ones date back to the god that we have harnessed, but we know little of it or their ways, and the Regulus has not been forthcoming. May not be that we're capable of those things. But I think that what I do is okay, I probably am going to, and this is not I will go into Transcendence.
Okay. And when that shift happens, what do we see on screen? I'm going to ask this question of everybody. So this is our first time doing it. But after this, the animators will probably use the same thing again and again.
Again and again, so I better make it good.
Yeah.
So I think that what you see is Regulus changes form and matches Manon's, but at a huge, like, many stories, several stories high size. Like with regalia, still the same regalia, but more like almost like it's like a statue of Manon. And it gets this like glow around it. And it's it looks like it's stiff, except that it's moving so fast and like taking different poses. It's like all of these set. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they are and they're all meaningful in some way, if only you knew, right? So
absolutely. So what is your action? You all are in a desperate position right now.
Correct. And this is the thing is, I think that though I've gone in Transcendence, my first move will be to analyze And that goes along with the wise nature of Regulus. So I think that gives me 3 dice, but does not give me an additional effect at this moment.
Okay. So you're trying to like figure some things out. So let's have you roll.
Okay.
So this is desperate. Standard effect because you've transcended. And this will count as your first action roll for transcendence.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and XP for desperate actions.
I got a 4.
You got a 4. So what is it that you want to know?
How to hinder the webbing.
You've got 2 choices. Either you can try to focus in on like a set of the hands that are close to one another to kind of maybe pull off a portion of this to give yourselves an exit out, or you can try to dive down the funnel and strike at the more sort of base where it's kind of starting to wrap. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
I do think that you as you do that, as you are kind of analyzing that, the first of those strands, because you've kind of moved up to get a closer assessment, will strike against you, and you're going to take a level 1 harm.
All right. I am looking for that on my form. I'm sure I'll find it any moment now. Here it is.
There is harm. Now,
Okay.
you can resist that if you wish.
I don't have very much resistance left, so maybe I'll take that first one. I
Well,
don't think it does anything. Oh, no.
Importantly, just to ask, would this count as a consequence affecting the engine?
Yes.
So consequences that affect the engine, if you don't resist them, will tick off its strength, which is sort of like its hit points.
All right. How resisted?
It has 3, and it'll take 1 wound if you take your final transcendent action in it, but otherwise it's big bad things that ticks down its strength. So you have a little cushion there.
So you were using stars.
Yeah.
So if you
that's
resist, you
2.
may resist with stars.
26. I got a 5.
You got a 5. So you'll mark 1 stress, and you have watchful. So I think that essentially, if someone goes to strike at those the either the 2 soft spots, that will move up from low effect up to standard effect, because
right.
these things are kind of potent even with being transcended. Does that seem fair?
Certainly. And I will tell them we need to go in, we need to go deep, we need to take care of it, the very center.
Manon, who goes next? You're going to set the order.
I think she'll call for Octavius.
Octavius, what do you want to do? You've been given this information. Tactical has come down. Do you think that's a HUD? Do you think that's just overhead? Is it something that's in your mind?
I think it's kind of projected inside the capsule. I think we get that kind of HUD, the screens showing up, and I'm going to transcend.
And what does that look like?
All right. I think we get this moment where we see this kind of white light in the center of Tav's chest, and it sort of flows out and covers him. On my sheet, I've got my transcendent picture there. As we see like liquid silver metal begin coating parts of him, and the interior of both the cockpit and kind of me goes into this stark whites and blacks, and we see Pegasus, kind of silver, that amorphous silver, almost like liquid metal, begin to kind of flow to where there is a look a little like Tavi, but at the same time, it's it's indistinct features. You don't see, the like a clear face of Tavi or anything like that. And the motion that Pegasus uses is very liquid. But there is still his, flop hair because
Yeah.
As I transcend in.
What do you want to do?
I've been given order, go in deep. So probably run in for cover to let others be a follow. So I'm probably going in to try and do the first push. And more than trying to damage, I'm trying to clear, trying to draw fire, but avoid, hopefully be, trying to dodge my way through.
Are you setting up another character? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. So when you do set up another character with your action, if you achieve it, team members that follow up will get either a +1 effect or improved position. So right now you are desperate, standard effect. What do you think you want to roll this with? How is it that you're doing this?
I think this is flow. I think this is grace and trying to go in there. And like I say, it rather than attacking, I'm trying to open way. So I'm thinking flow. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. So let's look at that. So you have 1 die for flow when you are transcended. And it's not necessarily hitting with your particularly with your virtue.
You don't think my elegance working in with this?
How is it elegant what you're doing?
Well, this sort of dance that I'm going through to draw fire, it's
okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can get that as a die.
I don't know if this is principled in particular.
Okay.
That's going to be a hard one to work on.
Yeah, because it's either or, in my opinion. It can either be with the virtue or with the other one. Now, the other option that you have, and I should have mentioned this with Manon, is you have links with Pegasus. So you could spend a link to give a die to Pegasus. If you look down there below your links thing, there you can spend a link to you or the linked pro tag recover 2 stress. They ignore 1 harm tag. You give them a +1 die to the action, or then there's the eclipse thing.
Okay. I will use 1.
Okay. So desperate standard 3d6.
Desperate standard 3d6. All righty. Rolling. I got 6.
Oh, 2 ones there. Very exciting to me. So yeah, you are absolutely providing cover and not taking harm as you are doing that. Manon, who is following up from Octavius?
And I was doing a setup, right? So do I need to declare who I'm setting up, or is it just setting up?
I assume it's the next person who goes.
Okay.
It would be Radiant.
Radiant, what do you want to do?
So how are you setting up there, Tyler? Oh, you're muted.
Since it's doing the hand thing and all the web energy, what I'm kind of trying to do is go through and kind of draw some of that and make a hole so you can get through.
Yeah. So that the hands have come out. There's kind of a web of them. They've kind of twisted and created a cone. And there's lightning flashing between them, and we see Octavius dancing and drawing the lightning.
So I think as you're drawing it, this like space in the middle is becoming wider and wider, and there's this like lens flare as Pegasus passes by, and when the light recedes, like there's the glowing core of Lyra, weirdly like swimmy fish-like bendy, there in the middle of it, just appeared out of nowhere. And we saw see a radiant sort of go transcendent a bit before, but I think now as he's transcended in Lyra, the central core of her is glowing this like bright purple blue, and you can see almost like the bones inside of Lyra are glowing through their skin, so you get this like skeletal glow out from them, especially as like goes in for an attack here, and I think the central core will glow brighter and brighter as the like fin mechanisms spin in this weird circle around it, and then there's just this huge flash of light that like lights up all of the stained glass cathedral windows sort of things, and I'm trying to like blind and attack it that way.
Absolutely. With the setup, with Manon's action, you are at risky standard right now.
All right.
And I can spend a link to add one, give him a die, correct?
You have
Oh no, that's with Zavi. Sorry, never mind.
I have one with Sia, so I assume that's the same as Radiant.
Yep.
And I will say, chew him up, Radiant, and I'll give you a die.
Okay, so one die for that. What
Could
what
I
do you want?
attack with perceive in this situation with the like blinding light attack?
So you're trying to, so that'd be trying to kind of spot the action, I think.
I
think
mean,
this
all
is,
these actions are weird. I'm just trying to come up with what this would be.
yeah, I think that this maybe, I would take flow, I would take express.
I like express.
Okay. So you've got 2 dice right now, as it stands, with standard, risky.
I'm gonna spend a link with Lyra for a
Okay.
die. Oh no, that's to someone else's side. Oh yeah, Lyra spends for me.
Yeah,
yes.
Lyra's your ally, so you can spend for them.
Gotcha. Yes.
So 3 dice.
Yes. And what do we? Sorry, things. It's fierce. I don't know if this is exactly fierce. Okay, 3 dice.
3 dice.
A 5.
So 3, 3, 5. So I think that you will hit like at one of the matrix points that Manon has spotted for you after Octavius leaps out of the way, and I think that will end up like there's a ripple and a spread, and the net will kind of flow outwards. Essentially, you've hit it such that it had to ripple and give you all the space. But I think that you find yourself as that ripple hits, the wave of it strikes Lyra, and you are stuck on this energy web right now.
Oh, I definitely don't like that.
Do you want to resist that consequence?
I would like to resist that consequence.
Okay. I would say, so you did that with express, but I think stars would also be fine with this for flow.
Elegance to get out of the way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I like that. 3.
3 stress. 3.
Ow.
Yeah. So you are, well, do that and pull yourself off from there before it can kind of try to fold you up in the folds of this thing. And I think all of you will hear there's no sound in space, and yet you will start hearing the choir of this Leviathan as the songs start going out. That sort of, you'll see and like a rondo where it starts at one part of it and it's this kind of, wah, and then another sound and then another sound, and it is this dissonant chorus of a dead planet singing to you. Zavi, what do you do?
So I want to say that the thing about Charon is that it can, to a certain extent, absorb energy, and that's how it powers its weapons, by absorbing shots.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just gonna dive into this web, maybe where it's trying to trap radiant,
Mm-hmm.
to interrupt part of it, and just try to absorb some of that.
Okay. So your goal is to reduce its ability to continue to fire off the energy weapons at you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is desperate,
Yep.
and you're not transcended, so
Nope.
it is reduced effect.
Okay.
I'll spend a link with Tavi or with Zavi to deflect some of this energy that's around me towards them.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So that's an extra
So a
die.
die. Yeah.
Awesome.
Uh,
I think Defy is pretty much the only thing that would make any sense at all for this.
let's see here.
So that's, I think.
So you've got 2 dice right now.
Yep.
Do you want to spend a link?
Oh, I have 4 links with Charon, so
Yeah.
I can spend a link for that. Yeah.
Okay. Also, let me pause here. Let's talk Forged in the Dark mechanics. You may ask me for a poison promise, or you can suggest a poison promise for another player.
Okay.
I will suggest it if something beautiful occurs to me, but a lot of that is in your hands on that. So Zavi, 3 dice.
Yeah. I thought you were bringing that up because you had a good one in mind. But 6.
So a 6. So I think you start drawing off that energy. What is it that shows that maybe you aren't doing as much as you would like to, that this thing is maybe kind of overloading your systems?
I think that at first it just kind of doesn't seem to be having an effect, because it's just the something about the skin of this thing just absorbs this energy. It's like a solar panel for laser bolts or whatever,
Okay.
Sci-fi bullshit. But then after a couple of seconds, it starts to there's this glow starts to expand outside of the of Charon.
Okay.
And it's the same color as the this energy net, and it's shimmering, and it ripples in a way that looks out of control.
Okay. Maybe start to see on the inside the little sensor things going up and up and up there. Okay. So we come back to Manon. We will see these hands that are there. The rippling has gone out amongst the web, and we will see, there were dozens of them, but we'll see them start to come together into these 4 larger things, those threads wrapped together, and you will see those hands turn into these weird, sharp-edged, winged, stony, angelic figures with faces that are contorted. These are powered by the souls of people from the chapel. And we will also see down on the world, on the skin of the Leviathan, these cathedrals begin to grow like spikes. Manon.
I think that there is I think for her, she freezes for a second because some of those faces are familiar. Maybe most of the faces are familiar. Though it's flashing between them, different faces, and they all look like they're in so much pain. And worst, sad, so sad. And I think that she goes a little like she just really wants to hurt this thing.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Radiant sort of bought some space, some exposed a little bit.
We have
Zombies down
changed
there.
to that
Yeah.
whole sequence there has changed. So the default has moved from desperate to risky.
Okay. And I think she's going to come in crazily in some ways, gunning for that gut right there to try to blow away some of its integrity.
So swooping down in and amongst the cathedrals, flying amongst the towers, you will see and hear the bells ringing, even though again we're in the vacuum of space, but we see them ringing there like an Utna duel is starting. They are ringing everywhere and peeling out as you dive down amongst them.
Okay, so I am calling my transcendent abilities. How dare you? This is when I strike back against someone who has harmed one or most of my friends. I gain +1 effect. If my action succeeds, I recover 1 stress. And this actually goes along with my max imperious impulse.
Okay.
So how dare you? I think very much sounds like that. And I am
so risky, a great effect.
Okay.
Imperious gives you the +1. Your special ability gives you the +1. And what are you rolling with?
Flow, because I think this is just following those lines down to where they're rooted, and to blow big chunk of them down there. So it's literally like there are all of her pilots. They're down there. They've opened that, essentially that thing around there. The skein of the power is not flowing like it was, and she's going to go in for a hit.
So you are rolling 4 dice before you spend any links, with great effect. Still risky though.
Okay. And I think that this 4 dice should be enough, but it's me.
Absolutely. It's 4 dice. Keeping in mind that your links are going to go away after the mission.
And you can basically spend a link to push yourself without spending any stress.
All right. I will spend a link with my beloved Regulus for 5 dice.
Okay.
To try to do a thing successfully with D6s, which means it's a fool's errand for me.
Now, you could also spend another link to push yourself and then recover that stress, and you'd be rolling with 6 dice.
Nah, I'm gonna.
Are you sure? Think of the chance for the critical.
Yes, and I know exactly how it's modified by the fact that I am rolling low. So do not try to tempt me.
Mark another transcendent.
No, I don't have to because I'm using my impulse.
That's right.
5s.
You only had that 6th die.
No, it would have done nothing.
So I think that as you dive down into this and we're cutting across those lines, we will see you see everything that is where you came from, what is like, your origins, all of those places, all of these things twisted by this. And I think that you're going to take a level 2, essentially psychic shock, as all of the weight and the focus of this is put against you. But what is the weapon that you use that slices off half of this webbing?
Think that the cathedral has a crescent that is a part of the memory of the moon from whence we came. It's a beloved idea out in space. We don't have this thing, the eclipse thing like that. And it's a thing of sort of nature and a home that is so far away and lost, but it's that Regulus sends that spinning out like this sharp boomerang at the sort of edge of its thing, and it just whips through all of that.
Absolutely. You send out your moon prism eclipse power, and it will slice across, and we'll see half of that. And there'll be these stone angels that will go flying off, and we'll see them like hit the atmosphere, and immediately, that sort of re-entry as they catch fire and explode into stardust as they do that. But you go spinning out of control there. Do you want to resist that?
Do I resist my psychic thing or the out of control?
That's the side,
that's
sort of
the
what's
psychic.
happening with the psychic thing.
Sure, I will attempt to resist it.
Okay. So that feels like,
Well, it would be stars because I used flow, right?
Sure.
Okay. So it's 2d6.
And can I spend a link with Zavi to heal you of 2 stress before you go into this?
Yeah.
Because you can use Zavi's links on anyone.
What? Sure.
so mark that link off, clear 2 stress.
We should all just make links with Zap.
Manon.
I totally forgot about that. I'm glad you remembered.
Thank you so much.
And
You
then
know
roll
how this
me
roll is gonna go.
2d6.
I got a 5.
So you will take 1 stress, and you will take a level 1 harm instead of a level 2 harm.
Okay.
You could mark your armor to knock that off completely. You can
I'll do
only
it.
use your armor while you're transcendent, so why not?
Yes, I should. All right. All right. Thank you, Patrick.
Octavius, you see your commander go roaring down in there. And then there's a wild moment of craziness as she wheels into these in between these cathedral spike towers that are growing, and slices away half of this web matrix, and it tears off into space. What do you do, Octavius?
Sounds like I should follow in behind and see if I can knock out the other part.
Okay.
All right. So doing that.
Yeah. And recover 1 stress, Sherry.
Oh, thank you.
This sounds like Defy.
Okay. So we're risky standard effect here as you're heading in to try and cut into those webs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will definitely spend a link from Pegasus.
Okay.
That's 2. This doesn't seem to be fitting with my thingy from Pegasus. So that looks like probably all I got.
2 dice,
I'll spend a link to give you a die.
3
Thank
dice,
you.
risky standard.
3 dice. Let's go. I got a 6.
Got a 6. So you will the second half that is there, you will carve away another half of it. So there is just the cathedral with its spinning, growing towers and one like cord of woven energy attached to this giant stone angel that is kind of now whipping around like it's trying to use it like a sling. But you have torn away 3/4 of the sort of the outer defensive field of this Leviathan, and the chorus gets louder at the at back of it. You'll hear the sopranos begin to shriek in tonal. There's a rolling. The pattern of it shifts, kind of like a earthquake tone roaring through the sound waves there. Sia, Radiant, what do you do?
So that one giant angel that's left, I would like to I think Lyra, as the fins are spinning, just like sort of nose in towards that one angel where that web of energy is coming into the center of it, and all these like alert systems go off inside the cabin sphere here, and Radiant just leans in as Lyra goes diving for the heart of that angel, and with the spinning parts of it, its pointed nose goes in and starts like a drill action in on its chest as the glowing sphere in the middle of Lyra starts sparking and drawing off that energy that's siphoning into the angel. And I'd like to like sort of draw away its energy, paralyze it, set up Zavi for a hit.
Okay. Do you think you're leaning into your virtue here of fierce or your impulse of hunger?
This is hunger. It's going for the energy. It's feeding off of this thing.
Okay. So we'll get to mark XP and it's not going to deplete your transcendence track. What do you want to roll that with?
It's either flow or express again. What do you think?
I'd like flow there.
Okay. Yeah, I think Radiant is just like melding with Lyra and leaning into what they're doing. Sorry, Tyler, what were you saying?
So
I'll spend a Zavi link to help you.
Okay. So you're at 3 dice, Radiant.
I'll spend my last link with Lyra.
Okay. So 4 dice. Risky standard.
4.
So I think you will absolutely set up Zavi, but I think you hear from Lyra more as it begins to draw in all of that energy more and faster than it can take in. And some of that's getting shunted in to where you are at, Radiant. And I think that you are getting overloaded. And I'm going to put that as I think just a level 1 harm effect. But you have a fear that that Lyra is going to just continue to drink unless something is done. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
You want to resist that?
I do want to resist that.
Okay.
I'll happily spend one of my many links because I read it and I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like I can spend any link on anybody. So
Yep.
Cool.
So do you want to give Patrick an extra die, or do you want to have them recover 2 stress?
Uh, which do you want, Patrick?
I'll take the stress. I'm afraid of dice.
So clear 2 stress and roll 2 dice. Or actually, wait, let's see. What do we you're probably resisting with stars, so roll 3 dice.
Yeah, social pressure. I'm resisting the social pressure of Lyra. Do angel drugs, kids. So it's 3. It's there. It's thing. It's 5.
So 1 stress you will take
Nice.
as you resist that. Zavi, Radiant has this last angel sort of locked and ready for you, which means that right now it's risky standard effect for it because it goes from low effect to that. What do you want to do? How do you want to take this thing out?
I am gonna fly in like with Charon still glowing from the extra energy it's absorbed, and fire all the energy it absorbed, like all of it, in one shot right into its face.
Absolutely. Would you like a poison promise?
Sure.
I think that if you do this, there is that going to be a bit that you are shunting all of the energy out of Charon, and you are going to continue flying. Your systems are going to do that for a round. Well, you can talk to people, but you're going to go kind of out of control.
That sounds completely fair. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you an extra die for that. So what does this feel like you want to roll with?
Okay. No, I mean, this is Defy. There's no reasonable way to use
Absolutely.
anything else.
Yeah.
And I will spend a link on that too.
Don't forget everybody who rolled desperate to mark XP for rolling those desperate actions.
Oh.
And those were the early ones, right?
Yeah. Yep.
The first round, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody should at least have 1 mark on that. So we got Defy, 1 die.
Spend a link with Zavi to help.
2 dice. Poison Promise, 3 dice. And did you say, Zavi, you wanted to spend a die? Spend a link?
Actually, I already rolled. It was a 5.
Okay. So
Well, I will take that roll because I'm going to protect them. I have the watchful skill when I protect, so I see them lose their power. So I will do that.
okay. Essentially, the consequence is going to be the blowback of energy that you would have taken a harm track on. But you will shatter this angel, break Lyra's focus on it, but then you go tumbling out in space. We spin the camera around, Darth Vader style.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing.
So Manon, roll your resistance roll for that.
Okay, so they were rolling Defy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a 1 in that category.
And you roll an extra die because you're protecting.
Right. Okay, and that's 2d6.
Ooh.
And I rolled a 5.
I always see that 1 first, and I get my mouth waters a little bit there.
All excited, but
yeah.
it hardly matters. So okay.
We come back around
and
to
essentially
you.
This is Manon comes up and you see that they sort of you're flipping around and they do a thing where they sort of send out some energy to sort of bring you like to equilibrium, and it gives you like a little shove, so when your power comes back on, you've got some momentum.
Cool.
So you've kind of pulled up away, and it's at this moment you realize these angel things have all been stripped off, and you begin to realize that all of those towers that have stretched out have emerged out, these cathedrals, and possibly extended. They're all vibrating. And then there's the sound of the bells, and there's the singing, and you'll realize that this is building up for a sonic blast aimed right at the last bastion All of this has been to protect it as it vibrates, as it turns itself into a galactic transdimensional tuning fork that will blast through, destroy the atmosphere of the planet, and kill everyone at the last bastion. Manon, what do you do? I have the music on loop in the back of my headphones. So.
I know. I know. I think that what it is that we have to send it off course away. So it's about the propulsion things. So as essentially is what it is. So I'm gonna call to essentially, because yes, it's a planet, it's gonna go, it's a big spike bomb, but it still is holding itself in space and trying to get to the bastion.
Yeah.
So we can use that momentum against it, particularly because it's channeling all of it into the sonic. So we should be able to push it away.
So this first action is about sending it off course so that beam can't strike it. And then possibly, moving in for the attack to destroy it before it can reorient or redirect those energies. So
yeah.
Let's have you take your action first. Are you setting someone up? Are you leading a team action? Or are you doing something else?
Ooh, let's do a team action. I think that gives us some options for getting a good result.
Okay.
And I will do the team action.
So in that case, this feels like flow to me. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone is going to make a roll with flow. Right now we're at risky standard for the effect here. Manon, let's start with you.
Okay, so I'm rolling flow, so that starts with 2.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to, let's see here. Now roll 2d6.
I'll spend a Zavi link to help you.
Yay, I'll roll 3d6. Thank you. Look at that, I got a 6, Lowell. So
Got a
we
6.
got at least a 6.
Okay. And then Zavi.
I have 0, so
I'll spend another Zavi link to help Zavi.
Okay. So okay. Zavi, you know what, Zavi, we'll take that. We'll just say that 4, so or that 6. Either way, you don't get a critical, but you also don't cost Manon stress. Sia.
Flow.
I will spend a link to help Sia.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. 5.
5. So again, all of you, and Tavi.
I'll spend a Pegasus. And
I'll give you a die.
Thank you. And roll 3. I got a 5.
So I think we see the crisscross of the 4 of you, and then all of you extending your fields and your energy weapons and hitting simultaneously and pushing this thing, such that start of that crackle of that energy kind of starts to beam off elsewhere, and I think that draws a lot of the protective fields and energy of this Leviathan. And I think that you can see that you have an opportunity to get to where the heart of this place is, but it's a desperate thing. What do you want to do, Octavius?
All right.
So we're at desperate, standard.
Desperate standard. So I could do a setup.
Yeah, and move it from desperate, or you could move it to great effect and like break this thing apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna try and push it up. So I'm gonna do a setup.
What does that setup involve?
Okay. I'm going to say, Radiant, get ready to follow me and hit it with everything you've got. And we see me taking full acceleration. And looking back to see if Radiant is following.
Okay.
I have your back, Terminus.
And you're gonna take the shot. And as we go pushing in, I'm kind of like pinpointing. My whole thing is to pinpoint the spot.
So analyze. Okay.
I'm going to push myself.
Ooh, 2 stress. So we're at 4 dice already.
One for
4
me,
dice.
one for me.
5 dice.
5 dice. All
I'll
right.
spend a link to heal you of 2 stress.
Thank you. All right. 5 dice.
Desperate. Let's have you do it.
With great effect. Okay.
To set up.
Yet, yeah. Come on.
Oh yeah.
I got a 6.
So
and
there's yeah, go on.
Because I pushed myself, I'm using my Transcendent Special so that as I center in and push in, because Radiant is my fated one, I don't know it precisely, but this is going to get a weird effect off. I teleport Radiant in front of me. We switch spots.
Radiant, desperate, great effect. You're flipped around in the way of this thing. Let's see it. What are you using?
Let's see. And what does this thing look like at this point?
It's kind of tearing open, essentially, till you see like the inside of a cathedral. The energy source is that sort of the altar at the center of this, where you can see layers and layers of phantasmal choruses around it, wrapping around, and you need to strike that center point.
Nice. So I think as that crack is opening up, and Lyra is suddenly there right in front of it, they go like squirming, sharp nose through, trying to widen up that crack, but there's the swirling choruses that just keep rebuffing them, until the what color is this Leviathan's energy?
Blue.
So until Lyra's core, which had been that like deep purple blue color, shifts to the same color as the cathedral energy, that bit that it had absorbed from the angel, and just sends it out in a wave from their core that knocks all of these singing choruses out of the way, and it just goes diving straight in for the heart of that altar.
You think that's express? You think that's flow? Think that's something else?
I think actually it's conceal. It's
okay.
Using its own energy against it is sort of like throwing off all of its defenses.
Desperate, great effect.
A die from me. See ya.
So right now we're
Thank you.
standing at 2 for that. I think fierce is applicable to get you to 3 dice.
And I'll push myself and spend my last link with Tav to do the stress there.
4 dice.
I'll
Desperate.
spend
Right.
Zavi to drop you 2 stress.
Nice.
4 dice.
Ah, 5.
What is it? Oh no, how about this? I think that as you hit that, there is a shriek. There is the sound. All of that sound energy that was outside this hits and it explodes. And you're going to take a level 2 harm, deafened, as it blows out your eardrums.
Oof. How
Would
do
you
I
like to
that?
resist?
Probably sun. This is sort of a
I'll
physical
spend the link with you to
Okay.
help resist that.
Okay. So 2 dice to resist that.
I will take 2 more stress off if we do.
Actually, so it can't give a
Yeah.
die for resistance roll,
Okay.
but and I kind of roll back. But Zavi, you can spend a thing to take 2 stress off
Okay.
from
Oh,
That works.
beforehand. So clear 2 stress, Patrick, and roll that resistance roll.
Oh no, so it's just I can't do right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so just 1 die.
die.
Sorry.
Yep, I had it set up already. 4, so 2.
So I think it is that like have to kind of concentrate and your head is ringing, and that'll be a level 1 harm.
And I'm gonna mark my armor as when Lyra's core returns to that purplish glow, there's this like flash from their skeleton, and you see that skull of Lyra shining super bright and absorbing that for radiant.
And the Leviathan explodes. It shatters in a wave of sound and light. We see Radiant and Octavius fly out through that. And I think then we also see Manon catching on to Zavi and stopping them from flying away. And I imagine that you kind of hold in them. And I think we'll probably see the face-to-face for your pilot cockpits as you grab on. And there'll be that twinkle of debris in the background.
Manny gives you a thumbs up, Zavi.
Let's take our first break here. Let's take 10 and we will be back. So, Sherry, as you suggested,
Yes.
let's do a little RP before we go into the fallout phase.
Yeah. So I think that essentially we sort of see the explosion. We're all hanging there for a moment. Just pause. Manon says, I have to apologize. I was perhaps rash. I was not as detached from the situation as I should have been. Thank you for your fine teamwork. You carried us through this. It was certainly not me.
Chivalrous, you're ardent in this. Your ardence in this battle, it carried us through.
It was rash.
It worked.
It did. And for that, I will always be grateful. Thank you. You're a fine team. And
The deepest passions drive us furthest. Do not be afraid of feeling what you feel.
I will consider that, Radiant. Thank you.
Certainly couldn't have done it if you hadn't been leading us through.
You were all brilliant today. Brilliant. Let's go back to the bastion.
And I transcended out, so I think we see me transform, and that'll do a strength damage to my mech, my engine.
Yes.
Ooh.
Anybody else transcend out? I think most of y'all might have got a
Yeah, I got like
thing
2
off
ticks.
y'all's.
Yeah, so I didn't overdo it. So
That was okay too.
Yeah. So what does that look like, Octavius? How do we know that that kind of exhausted your setup there?
I think you could kind of see as we're having that moment watching there as Pegasus kind of flows back into that much more nondescript, I think somewhat kind of almost smaller, maybe not physically, but it seems smaller, and the energy is less, and you can definitely hear it in Tav's voice compared to when it was Terminus there in the midst of the fight. So definitely that was Tav speaking to you, Chevalier, rather than Terminus.
I'll go on ahead. I will follow.
Can I have someone roll me a 1 die? This is something I should have done back in the downtime action, but
If you want a bad result, I'm your gal.
so yeah, roll me a d6.
I'll 1.
Okay.
Just like what you wanted.
Wow.
It's on demand.
You did call it.
Yeah.
Basically, before anything we did in that original downtime, there was a Last Bastion reacts move that gets resolved that basically we roll a number of dice equal to the Bastion track tier, which is tier 1. Tier 3. And prioritize actions. Actually, Sherry, roll me 2 more dice now that I realize that.
Okay. Let's see if 3 and a 1.
Okay.
I can deliver when you.
So it's still just 1 tick on that. Basically, there are some projects that the Last Bastion can work on. It starts out complacent, so and that can also tick forward the Leviathan track, making them stronger. If you look on the series tab, the series sheet, that's where that's recorded.
Okay.
When things happen to the Last Bastion, we start ticking down from it loses those ticks and gets less and less. Leviathans would go up and up. When you do the investigate move, it's actually kind of make preparations, and that's that readiness tier that you build up.
Okay.
So
we need to be doing that.
Yeah. You lose a little bit of that at the end of a mission. You lose half of what you had, but the rest will remain. And we'll round down on the lose half. So just to tell you how that works.
Right.
So let's move to the aftermath phase, he said, shuffling his papers and looking for the sheet he just had a second ago. So this is the fallout phase. In the fallout phase, we see the consequences of the group's actions. And this up, it sort of marks the end of the episode before we go to XP. And we're going to mechanically resolve this. This is the adversary track. So during the fallout, the adversary track, which is the Leviathan track in this case, moves forward 1 segment plus an additional segment for each of the following that occurred during the mission. The adversary's agenda moved forward. Someone fell into eclipse or was killed or defected to the adversary. The protagonist came closer to their destiny as established in series creation. In this case, we're just going to take one clock tick on there. So we will have 2 ticks on that Leviathan track. So that's what happens at that. And then we're going to roll the fallout roll. We roll dice equal to the current investigation tier. And then we consult the appropriate adversary tier. So right now we'll have an investigation tier of 0, but I'm actually going to call it 1 in this because I think that would have been the proper way to read it, because it does look like 1 is the minimum. Who's next up on the list? That'd be Tyler. Tyler, would you roll me a d6?
Yes. Four.
That is a 4. So
That's a very good roll for me. It's a very, very good roll for me.
right, position effect, fallout. So I think when you come back from the mission, and we'll do some RP scenes here in just a moment, you will be called in for a briefing. Of course, Radiant isn't there when the briefing is called, but Bishop Cranach is there, and you can see that he is looking over the test data, and he says, very competent piloting and behavior. There were some faults that one might find in your progress. Octavius, I want you to, and then he pauses and he goes and kind of stops and says, you are reassigned to the Karen. Zavi, I want you to try your hand at the Pegasus.
Yes, Your Eminence.
Any questions? Excellent. You're dismissed. So let's do a little like, what is the scene of you 3 in the aftermath on the ground, recovering from this? None of you took physical injury, but you came close. You also saw Manon kind of crack a little bit.
I'm going to suggest kind of a, well, I think we need a drink. Zavi, your first real action, right?
Yeah.
That
First real
deserves a
Leviathan.
little celebration.
Yeah, I think it does.
And Manny, you look like you could use a drink.
Temperance does not mean abstinence.
It's a shame old Radar isn't here.
And you can go down to the sort of the pilot's rec area where you'll be served non-alcoholic beer or other beverages.
Wine, please.
Non-alcoholic wine, absolutely. A rosé, white, or red. We have 3 kinds.
Traditionally, it should be red.
Okay, a good choice. The rosé is just the white and the red mixed. And they go over the thing, and they put the cup under the thing, and it sprays out from the dispenser, and they bring you the large paper cup of red wine. What's your drink of choice, Zavi?
I think it is so I think it is anything with alcohol in it. But so I think I look at what same as Manon is having. And then once they leave, I turn to Manon. It's like, so where do you get real drinks here?
I have heard rumors of a still. I
knew
not
there'd be one.
located it. I think they think
Well,
that I
let's see. I
would
knows.
tell on them.
Yeah, I can see.
It just sort of stops. I am wounded.
It's not. They'd be wrong, but I can see why.
I am typically well behaved, I will admit.
You are.
And Tavi,
Somebody has to be.
Tavi, what is your drink?
It's probably where they give me that the non-beer, but I think we do see maybe while they're talking, pull out like a little rolled up bit of paper, and you see him kind of dump in a little bit of a dust that's his, like, come down, little helper, since we have all our drugs in our world and all that. I think that he tends to take a little bit of downers when he comes out of a mission.
Absolutely. So above and beyond the standard pharmaceutical battery that they dose you with repeatedly, you will take that in. Sia, I think there has to be a moment where you see those 3 pilots going off to celebrate, going into the pilots area.
Yeah, and I think Sia's actually sort of stumbling down a hallway the other way, like very much trying to look like everything is fine, and he's just calmly walking down a hallway, but he's very not calm at all. And he makes it down to his room and like slams open the door and goes in, and just he like crawls into a dark corner, begins hyperventilating and crying, and we see like flashbacks to I think especially when Lyra sort of went hungry and like dove at that angel, as he's having like a full-on panic attack. And there's like a mirror over a small sink, and there's like this blue light glowing out of it as Radiant is standing there, just like trying to tell him like how well the mission went and how they protected people and how everything went off perfectly, and it just doesn't get through to him. And finally, Radiant like reaches over onto a shelf, and who knows how this works physically, but somehow like pulls down a sketch pad and a pencil and puts it in front of where Sia is like panting on the floor, and he says, "Just draw it. Just draw it." You can draw it all away, then you won't have to hold it anymore. And C is like trembling as he reaches out for a pencil, and then just like frantic sketches at first, but more and more detail and like drawings of this thing as he goes from panic attack into like this hyper focus on something to try and clear his mind again.
And all of you will hear the wah, wah, wah. Proceed to ready stations. Transport in 15 minutes. Prepare your stage H drug protocols for transit in 15 minutes. You have 14 minutes 50 seconds to get to your safe space. And like I think all the lights turn red and they go around, and we'll see people running from place to place as they get ready to hit the engines to shift the bastion to a new location. All of you will feel that crackle there. What does it feel like when these transport engines are, run up, man, and like when they are spun up? What's the feeling?
First, it's like that feeling of super gravity, like something's pulling on you so hard, and then when they cut, you black out.
You're all feeling that pressure. Tav, what's another thing you see or feel or hear in this sort of wind up to the jump?
I think you begin to see, like, at first it's blinking lights, kind of like, say if you're getting a migraine or something, those little sparky lights. But as it gets more intense and as the time is coming in closer, you begin to see that those little blinking lights are tiny runes. They're all part of the ritual, the prayer.
Yeah, the start seeing that the lines running in runes in two different direction planes. You can tell that there's a third plane, but you can't quite make out the depth of it. That it's going towards you as that begins to form. Radiant, Patrick, what like do you have to? I mean, we obviously know you have to take inject a drug compound or take something, but do you strap in? Do you lay down? What do you have to do physically when you transit?
It's you have to lay down in the full like hands crossed over chest corpse pose.
Absolutely. Have to settle yourself in as those runes get brighter and fuller, and then you jump. Savi, is there anything in that transition space when you jump? Is it silence? Is it something else? Like as you move through the hyper geometric phase space to this other point in the universe, what is in that moment?
It's like an itch in your brain. There's just this kind of irritating, like hearing a sound that's too high to like hear with your ears, but you still feel it, that you can't do anything about. And it is incredibly irritating to the point where people get violent sometimes if they're not unconscious when it happens.
You will transit. Let's go to XP. XP, you will have on your sheet about what generates XP. You also generate series XP. We'll do the series XP last. So let's look at your XP questions on your sheet. Manon. Did you address a challenge with kindness or self-sacrifice?
Challenge with kindness or self-sacrifice. That's a hard thing of what constitutes a challenge. I suppose. Does it mean I made a move and rolled dice?
Yeah.
Oh,
With
okay.
self-sacrifice. Did you approach an action? Did you approach something that you had to overcome with self-sacrifice?
I did protect my allies on several occasions. So
you get to mark an XP for that.
okay.
Did you express your beliefs, drives, role, or background?
I think that I definitely I articulated my role as the team leader. I think I live and play my background. And yeah, so I think so.
So mark an XP.
Right.
Did you struggle with?
I might suggest an extra XP because our mission this time was your background.
Oh, that's fair. We'll give you an extra XP for that.
Thank you.
And again, these can be put in playbook or stats. It's up to you.
Oh, I'm just putting in playbook for the time being so I can do some things. Did I struggle with issues from my promises or obligation? I did have that psychic blowback, but my armor protected me.
Let's talk about your promises.
My promises, yeah. Well, that's a good idea. Let's see. I will protect Savi until he can learn to pilot and perhaps grow into his role. So I do think that I was there after the energy thing when he was sort of dead in space. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you that, but I think this is sort of the low bar for what struggling with those issues count as. Does that seem fair?
Okay.
But we're going to give you an XP for that.
All right. Struggle with issues. So, all right. Okay. Yes.
You didn't embody your eclipse because you didn't eclipse. And I don't think you displayed the contents of your heart.
Okay. You don't think the conversation with at the end when I thanked my team because I was out of sync?
I like that.
I was out of it.
Yeah, we'll give you that.
Okay.
Doubting your role.
Yeah.
Doubting my role.
Your code forbids violence, lying, and asking for help. At the end of a mission, if you did not violate your code, mark XP. Do you think you violated your code?
I did not.
You used violence against the Leviathan, right?
I thought you said that violence against the Leviathan was
I was joking about this. So.
Sorry.
So you get to mark XP for that.
Okay. It's as if none of the protagonists broke my code. We get to mark series XP. I don't think anyone lied.
Did anyone ask for help?
Does the see a radiant thing count for lying?
No, because otherwise it would always be lying.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, yeah.
I don't think anybody did actually ask for help.
No.
This time.
We were all
closest
Giving,
maybe
you're all
Octavius at the end there, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
no, I think that was more the setup
and
the follow-up. So yeah, okay, we'll mark a series XP for that then.
Cool.
Okay. Next is Octavius. Do you address a challenge with foresight or revelation?
I think I did address with revelation when I was
and keep in mind this also carries back to last session too. So, yeah.
I think revelation when I opened up the way there at the end doing that full analyze, that seems like a revelation.
So mark an XP sense for that. Did you express your beliefs, drives, role, or background?
Yeah, I think I hit a couple of or some of that. My failed savior in there. I need to come up and figure out a statement somewhere for beliefs, I guess, or figure an idea of what that means.
Yeah.
And my role, my forbidden lover from last time.
Okay. Definitely a point for that. Did you struggle with issues from your promises or obligation? I think that scene from last time was a struggle for you. I think it felt like you trying to work through it and not being able to, and I think that counts. So let's have you mark
Okay.
XP for that.
Okay.
And I do think you displayed the contents of your heart. I think that feels fair there.
Thank you.
So that's 4 XP across that. You're going to put those in your stats or your playbook, or what do you think?
No. I don't know.
You could get another stat. You've got 2 checks on those things.
Yeah, I could get one more.
Yeah. Sia. Did you address a challenge with mystery or ostentatious action?
I think both.
Okay, so I'll give you a point for that. Did you express your beliefs, drives, role, or background?
I had several things around that, like the studying the Leviathans.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, mark XP for that. Did you struggle with issues from your promises or your obligation?
I don't think so this
time. Did you display the contents of your heart?
I think so, definitely at the end.
Yeah,
even if it
I'm
wasn't
actually going to give you 2 for that, given those interactions with your engine and your interactions there by yourself at the end, and also kind of being cut off is kind of a struggle. So I think that seems fair. So let's give you 2 for that.
Cool.
And Zavi. So did you address a challenge with compassion or honesty?
I don't think so.
I don't want to be here either. You should just let me go.
That's true. That's
I think
true.
that whole
honesty. You're right.
interaction is a fair
that was honesty.
Yeah. Do you think you expressed your beliefs, drives, role, or background?
My role, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So mark with that. I don't think you necessarily struggled with issues from your promises, but I think that at least here was the first time we saw you kind of struggle with, okay, I've got to be this pilot.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll give you a point for that. Though I think that'll be the one time you kind of get that for free.
Right, yeah.
Did you embody your eclipse? No. Did you display the contents of your heart?
No, I think I deliberately didn't.
Okay. So that would be that. Let's look at the series XP. At the end of each session for each item below, we're going to mark 1 XP or 2 if it occurred multiple times. You successfully carried out a mission from the series list. So yes, so that's an XP for that. Did you struggle with your place in the world and protect the last bastion?
Well, we protected the last bastion.
Yeah. Revealed the tragic history of the Bastion, Leviathan, and engines. I think the revelation of the cathedral.
Terrible.
Feels there. Did you express the essential nature, origin, or destiny of the group? If somebody can tell me what one of those things is and how you expressed it, I will give you a point.
I actually think we did, because there is that nature of the pilots being more privileged and free than others, and we had those like scenes of Sia's life versus the other pilots' lives.
I like that, and that the sort of the tension between the two. You know, they have a still, but you have access to all the non-alcoholic. You have your own nice quarters. They don't. Like that. That tension there in identity is good. So I'll give another point on the series track for that. And that is the Fallout phase, which I believe is the final phase of the thing. Checking the things. I think that is. So that will bring us back around. Clear all your stress. Clear all your links.
We did use up some links, so we did good on that.
Yeah, you did a nice job.
I used all of mine.
Yeah.
Do we clear transcendence?
Yes, there's also clear. Also clear armor if you marked armor.
And what about harm? Not that I have any. Just curious.
Harm will
It has
clear.
to heal.
Harm
Yeah.
clears.
No, that's a downtime recovery clock.
Oh, that's right. Does anybody have harm?
Blades.
I think the only harm is the strength track harm to what is now Zavi's engine. And so we go back to the cycle of play. In that, we see there's a transition, and we see the characters in a new part of the universe. The stars' backgrounds are different. The Bastion is on a different planetscape. We can see the system is there. Sensors and things are being deployed out to get readings on the system. Since the jumps aren't perfect, they don't know exactly where they're going to sometimes. They're hoping their next jump will be the one that takes them home. But you will see that. So we do the obligation phase. I'm going to move myself to that on our resolution thing. Okay, so during the obligation phase, again, you're going to roll your lowest attribute and take stress equal to 6 minus the die results. And then we're going to ask kind of what kind of roll it is to tell us about this. So this is a segment where we're going to kind of look again at your lives here. Manon, what is your lowest attribute?
You mean like resistance?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a 1. It could be sun or moon.
So sun is obligation involving scary people or circumstances or is physically taxing. Moon is an obligation which breaks your heart and drives you to despair.
Oh, I think I did the despair one last time, so I'll do sun, which
Okay.
is scary people.
So let's have you roll, and then let's assess what that's going to be.
Okay, so that's 1d6. I rolled a 6.
So you take no stress. So what is the scary stuff you see happening to other people on the ship? Not your other fellow PCs, but either your rival team or the standard people, the non-commissioned people, the crew. What is that kind of fear or terror or tension that's happening with them?
The Cardinal reassigned 2 of our pilots to different ships, and I know that Octavius was not happy with that, but I actually inadvertently am in the hangar when the other team gets the news that they're supposed to switch, and he switched the whole team. And it is a thing of, I watch, sorry, one of the names, the second command, Torin react, and he gets defiant with the Cardinal, and that goes from heated to really scary right away. Like, Torin's a pilot and he's in a very high thing, but the Cardinal takes no shit and actually like throws him across the room and tells him that he won't, he will not brook this defiance. And it's one of those things where I see Torin stand up, I see he's still angry, and it's the rest of the group trying to cool him down so he doesn't get hurt more, and they are all really shaken.
I think that you will then hear the bishop say,
I'm sorry.
if this continues, we will bring the Thanatos out of mothballs. And everyone goes quiet. Octavius, what is your lowest attribute?
It's either sun or moon.
Okay, so same sort of thing there.
And Sherry went with which one? Sun.
So coming back to this, sun is obligation involves scary people. Moon is obligation breaks your heart.
Oh, I'm scared. Let's go with moon.
Oh, I've been looking forward to breaking your heart. So why don't you go ahead and roll?
Yeah. All right. One die. 2.
4 stress.
4 stress.
I think that you are down there kind of maybe watching Sia in the mechanical area there, and as you do that, you will see Calliope come up, kind of climbs up a ladder, kind of sees you, kind of nods, and then comes over to where you're at. And you see her smile, and she will pull out this weird crystalline thing that you've never seen before, and she'll kind of hold it forth to you.
What's up with that?
And you see her look down, and you see in her face, this is something that she and her brother shared. This is some object, some thing that they both knew about, that they both linked. But you don't remember it at all. And you see her realize deep down that you are not her brother anymore. I have to go. I have to go.
I'm sorry.
And
I want to
slides down the ladder, and
tell me about it.
And she's gone. Sia, you just saw Octavius make his sister just weep and cry. You don't know what that was about. Let's come to Sia. What's your lowest attribute?
It is also either sun or moon.
Which will it be?
I did moon last time because I just took up perceived to actually get a point in moon. So
Sure.
I think I'll do sun this time.
Okay.
Let's see, one die. It's a 4.
4. So that's a 2 stress. So this is either scary people or circumstances, or something that physically taxes you.
So I think this is scary circumstances. I think as just a mechanic, I'm not exempt from having to go back in the last bastion's field, and so we need parts to repair. Who was it? Pegasus who got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
To repair Pegasus, so I have to go back to the last bastion, and this is the first time I've been inside the bastion god for a while, and they've just teleported to a new place, and I think they're like the whole place is just filled with this seething fear.
It's in your clothing, like you can feel it there, vibrating around, and people are staring at you kind of wild-eyed as they desperately try to keep a tamp on those emotions. This is the worst time for this, and you hear the whispers back and behind and through you, and I think you hear from the God engine, that is not the way you were supposed to be. Comes through very clear. Just one time it says it, but it comes through crystal clear to you.
And Sia is like, especially after that, he's like muttering under his breath the like things that you're supposed to think and the processes that you like, the orderly, like how do you approach each day by ignoring these emotions. Like he's having to mutter it to himself, and like there's this double echo of Radiant in his mind trying to keep up the chant of the like how you keep your mind distracted and going forward.
Fear is a little killer. I get that the whole
Yes.
see that going through.
There's a very Dune speech going on.
Okay. And Zavi, what about for you? What are you rolling?
Well, mine's either sun or stars, and no one else has rolled stars, so let's go stars. What does
Okay.
stars do?
Obligation puts you under social pressure or sets off your anxiety.
Okay. One. And I got a 1.
Out of 1. So you'll mark 5 stress. And I think that you come down to the like auto trainer and stuff that you're supposed to be in, and you see Soren there, and Soren's been a little distant to you before, but I think there is that thing that the temperature has dropped even colder now that you have gone out and flown. And he says, you could barely handle Karen. Do you think that you'll have any chance at handling Pegasus?
Haven't tried yet. I don't know.
Seconded your request to be dismissed. I even filled out an extra form for it, but they won't listen.
No. I guess they must be really desperate.
kind of turns and he says, I'm not looking forward to washing down the cockpit when you're gone.
You think the engine will come back? Because you're more optimistic than I am.
Grumbles, kind of turns away because you're not reacting. You're not giving him what he wants back. And you see that like he is wounded physically and emotionally. And he walks away and leaves you alone there with the engines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, just kind of like, I'm like, I mean,
He should have
Karen was right.
died, says Karen. It would have been easier for him and for you.
We're all gonna die. You said that yourself.
True, but
That's what we're here for.
Some people need the dying sooner. And then it goes quiet. And I think actually that's where we're going to stop for today, rather than rolling into kind of, because I want to give the downtime action enough time to breathe, like we did last time. So I think I want to wrap here rather than just giving us kind of 20 minutes of it or whatnot. We will start out with those downtime actions, and we'll aim to kind of do that in that first hour or so next time, and then we'll go into mission phase as the next mission comes up. Does that sound okay? I would like to do a quick stars and wishes. Stars being things you enjoyed, particularly liked in terms of play phases that you like for this, and wishes being things you'd like to see more of, like to see less of, or things you definitely want for your character. Manon.
First and foremost, I would like to thank Patrick for being the system helper on this first run through of a Blades game. I love Blades once we get rolling, but every time I hit it for the first few days, the first few plays, I'm like, what are we doing here? It is, once the cycles get going, I'm cool, but that first few times, all of the different pieces that work together. So super much appreciated. Thank you. And you are always welcome to correct me or remind me, and I will never feel bad about it. So just want you to know. I love these characters. I think that this is a great mecha series. I would watch this for sure. It is, all of these characters are so filled with pathos. Oh, it's delicious. And the thing is I'm already worried for the other team too, and they're both, rivals, and oh my gosh, something bad can. Anyway, this is a terrible, horrible. It's going to get dark the next season, or this season is the season that goes super dark, I assume. So yeah, it's kind of scary. Yeah, I don't know. I could be really specific, but it's like generally right now, I just feel a lot of love for you. So that's what you're getting. Let's see here. Wishes. I think that the next thing that I would like to see is sort of our team probably interacting with Sia more. We've all kind of had that initial gambit. So I think that begins the thing of where we have him on our periphery, even if we don't understand that he's radiant. That will make the thing like a lot tighter in some ways, if that makes any sense. And it means that we can cause situations with Sia that have that resonance, even though we don't have radiant with us, if that has any sense. So, because it's just, I don't know, I need to be interacting with you guys in order to get all of my points. I need XP because I'm terribly weak right now. Terribly weak.
All right.
Yeah. So that's it.
Okay.
delicious and good. Thank you, Lo.
Before I come to Tyler, one thing I forgot, or I could have done right now, and I'm going to do it now before we move on, is the Last Bastion takes a downtime action before the down to action. And what I'm going to do is just, it would be roll with 3 dice. I'm just going to read it as a 6. Well, actually, we'll read it as a 6, but somebody rolls me 3d6 in case you get critical on it.
I think that you don't want me to roll because I'm just going to come up with all ones. So
I'll roll. Why not?
thank you.
Just a singular 6.
Just a single 6.
Aw.
So I'm going to put 3 ticks on the upgrade track. Oh, sorry, 4 ticks on the upgrade track. When that is filled, you will get to choose an upgrade to the flagship.
Ooh.
So that is what the Last Bastion is working on. Tyler.
This was a lot of fun. The battle was super intense. It was neat to see the system going, and where our stats aren't great, there is a lot of opportunity to give and keep us all involved in actions, and that came across real well. I think that's pretty cool. I loved hearing everybody's kind of descriptions of their transformations. I thought everybody's transformations were super cool. And I guess if I'm going to give out a singular star, I'll say, Patrick, your reaction, Sia's reaction to the combat was really neat. You built up this idea of Radiant there to protect Sia from not really being very prepared to be a pilot. And that was really dramatic. It was sad and tragic, and it was really well done. I liked it. It was very nice. Wishes, I'm going to change my obligation. I had it just as the military mecha pilot, but it needs to be something deeper if it's going to have this mechanical effect. And it really doesn't say anything about me, just to say I'm part of the military. And I agree. I want to see Sia able to mix up in with us. And I kind of look forward to. We are a broken team at the moment, with really just kind of Manny and Tav remaining from what we, from a broken lance or a broken unit.
Well, Radiant was with you, so it's Manny and Radiant.
Oh, Radiant has been around.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
So the 2 new ones are you and Zavi, effectively.
But I want to see.
But we don't know you're new.
Yeah.
Right?
We don't know I'm new.
So
I kind of
faking
it. I suppose my wish is to I'd like to see a cool team build moment. I'd like to see us as a group do something cool teamy.
Okay. All right. Patrick.
Yeah, this was super cool. It was very neat to see all of the like active mechanics and toys go off here for mission phase. Your descriptions for the Leviathan and the like theming for the Leviathan being Manon's home place was all super cool. I loved people's descriptions for how they fought and flew with their mechs. Like everybody's engine descriptions were like very expansive and cool and cinematic. I also thought it was really interesting because I was curious to see how this would go after last session, where we didn't do anything on the preparations track. We didn't do any research into Leviathans, but we did a ton of links and connections. And it was cool to see how those resources from the social connections, the links, could carry us through this mission, even if we weren't totally prepared for it. that was super neat. You know, that probably won't always be true. We definitely need to do some research and preparations, but it was neat to see it play out like that.
One of the things I think is, and I'll kind of put a pin in and have you finish it, is I think what I'm going to try and do is before we go into the downtime action, like say probably what the mission is going to be, because unless you know that, I don't think you can really frame up that investigate particularly well. You can do it generically, but it doesn't feel right. So I'm going to try and do that more.
Cool. For a specific moment, Tyler, I thought your use of that, like setting up Sia or Radiant rather, and then doing the full on swap transposition was super cool. That was very neat. Let's see. Wishes. It's sort of like what Sherry was saying with getting started into a new Forge system. I I want to get to the point where I'm comfortable enough, where we're comfortable enough with the action to where we can have a little more interaction during some of this like big cinematic moments where we can have some like chatter or banter between the pilots, or where we can get a little more into like personal descriptions, which is very hard when there's like all these mechanical toys to remember and play with and whatever. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I agree with everybody's wishes of like wanting to get Sia more connected with people socially. But I will add on to that. I'm also looking for ways that I can bring Radiant in more, because I can disguise myself as Radiant even without being transcendent. So I don't want Radiant to always be like an enigma hole in what's going on. I don't always want to miss every briefing session and every official meeting. I want to start finding places where Radiant can interact with people outside of the big action battle.
Right. Thank you for telling us that. That helps
That's
us think about the framing.
Yeah, because I thought he was always going to be secret.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I want that to be where it starts, but I want to move and expand that as we go forward.
Yeah. We've had a couple of scenes of that, so we can maybe shift from there. I like that, especially if we like read it like all of season 1, Radiant avoided all those things, and now in season 2, there's something happening that we see him showing up for. Zavi, Ethan.
Stars to Patrick for pointing out a thing I had like selected on my sheet and then completely forgotten about that helped everyone else.
It's such a good move. Oh my god!
How did I? Like, it was below like the scrolling on my screen and I couldn't see it, and I totally forgot that there was a move down there that I had checked. So thank you. Also, the whole like final attack, Tyler, the like, oh, I just move him using time travel and just suddenly he's in the right place. It's just a brilliant use of that ability. For wishes, I actually was kind of had a wish that Patrick just covered, which is that I want to see Radiant like not actually in battle, just cool. What is Radiant like in normal life, to the extent that normal life exists.
I think there's a particularly interesting combination there of Zavi and Radiant that we definitely have to see that pairing at least once there. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I was very happy with how the battle went. To kind of get the first feelers for it, and I do think you're right. We give it more room to breathe, to let players figure out what they want to do, and be able to do some cross chat and planning like we are in a more team mecha battle. So that's a good point. I am going to stop the recording.